card design on it. Like
Oh my God.
these things,
Hermes, take notes. That's a
I
great
just,
idea.
I mean, why aren't you partnering with who? What's your color? McLaren? Like it makes sense. Like those
Reese is
things.
Welcome back to Beyond the Formula. I'm Kimmy, and this is a podcast for girls who love to yap.
I'm Casey, and I'm the yappiest one here.
And we love that. We love girls who love to yap because they're just like us. And that's what life is about, yapping. I
But we
think
don't leave out the boys, the girls, the everybody, the he, she's,
everybody's
theys,
everywhere.
thems. If you like the
Exactly.
yap, hang out with us.
Exactly. You know? Speaking of he, she's, theys, thems, we have some great news coming out of the racing world. I think we
Yes, we
need to
do.
give a massive shout out to our friends at Racing Pride who have just done a legendary deal with Mercedes Grand Prix Racing. I love to hear it.
Absolutely love to hear this too because I heard some murmurs of them possibly joining other teams, like partnering with other teams. And I was like, they have to join with Mercedes because
Yeah.
of Lewis Hamilton. And then when I heard the Lewis Hamilton thing, I was like, are they going to partner with them or are
Yes.
they just going to like just shun everything that Lewis
Yes.
brought? And when I saw the news, I was like, yes. And I love you,
I
Richard.
was so
Love you.
happy. I was like texting them in all caps, being like, yes, this is the best thing ever. Especially because Lewis is such an ally and he always wears what I like to call the Gaelment at every race in
Oh,
countries
I
that
love
don't support
this.
yeah, for countries that that maybe don't support LGBTQI plus rights. And I think that his allyship in doing that is amazing, and it makes sense that Racing Pride are going to be working with Mercedes. It's the perfect partnership. And I, for one, am super glad to hear it. And I cannot wait to see what the future holds, especially because I love seeing the work that they do, that diversifying a traditionally male dominated sport where things like this aren't spoken about enough. I
Yes.
love to see what Racing Pride are doing to change the landscape of motorsports, and I back them 100%. I'm so proud of you guys. I love you. I cannot wait for this.
I know. And I was fortunate enough to like connect with Richard just through social media and just randomly liking each other's content or whatever.
Mhm.
And they invited me to join the community because, as some people probably don't know, because I don't like speak about it that much, I'm pansexual. So I
There
love
we go.
everyone no matter what. I mean,
And we
not
love
no matter
that.
what. Let's be honest. But in Coda, they threw a big event in Coda and partnered with Red Bull, which I was actually shocked about, but was like, yes, this is actually amazing that you're partnering with Red Bull in Coda, and invited me, and it was the most incredible experience because as a female in motorsport, it's always like a little iffy going in there, and then to
Yeah.
see everyone embracing. The community and excited to work with Racing Pride was like, okay, things are actually changing, and it's not changing where I thought it would change first. The first
Mhm.
partnership I thought would
Yeah.
definitely be with Mercedes, and then I think it was actually with Aston Martin was the first
Yeah.
partnership, and when I was there with them, we spoke with, I believe, Alpine. Maybe we took some pictures with Alpine,
Yeah.
but it's so nice to see Richard, being true to who he is and not
Yeah.
being scared to step into this space and bring like everyone along with him. If you haven't
Exactly.
met,
I can't wait.
um,
I'm sad he's not coming
be,
to Australia this year. Richard, you need to come and visit
yes,
me because we
yes,
love you. And
yes,
you're exactly right in what you're saying. Just when I interact with him, he's just the loveliest person ever. So shout out to Richard. And we will eventually have him on our podcast once we figure
yes.
out time zones because right now we he's
We're
in
already
Miami, I'm in
struggling,
Australia,
okay?
and then we're gonna throw England into the mix. Come on. Oh,
I mean, we are on the struggle bus depending on like what time we decide to do this, because I'm like, oh, is it 11 o'clock your time or 11 o'clock my time, and then
Literally.
doing the calculation. So could you imagine just adding that in? We need to like set up a thing like on the F1 app where you can just tap and see when it happened, when the race is happening, local time, and then your time. So if anybody can
Exactly.
make us like an app or tell us where we can go, so we can like type
Yes,
in what time it's here and what time it's going to be all the other
please.
places in the world where our guests are going to be.
I need it. I need that. But yes, that's it. Racing Pride. Super proud of you guys. You're doing work with Aston Martin, Red Bull, and now Mercedes. I think that's a true testament to the amazing work that you guys are doing. Cannot wait to see what the future holds for
And
you. I'm just a regular, degular ally, but I love to be here and I love to be part of it and I love to see what you're doing. And I'm so proud of everything. I cannot say I'm so proud enough because
it
I've
is
clearly said it
it
about a million
it
times.
is I know it's amazing how far the organization has grown since I think they just started maybe last year or like the end of like 2022. I don't think it's
That's
been around that
insane.
long,
Don't you
and
think?
everybody's embracing it. And I think that I want to give a shout out to everybody who has stepped up and has chosen to become part of the community,
Yeah.
because it's very easy to look away at this point because
Yes.
of the friction that it does cause, when especially when you look at Lewis, with his helmet just going to different places. um, we appreciate you so much for just taking a chance. And even like, I'm in Florida right now and it's been my home for a long time, and we have had major issues with our governor. And even in the United States, there's so much going on with the LGBTQ plus community, and especially like the trans community. Last year when I was here, I made sure to wear my trans pin and like allyship and everything at the race, because I think it's so important, even if you're not part of the
Absolutely.
community, is to represent that you are an ally, because especially when you go to races, you don't know. And I think it was what, like in 2022, there was some stuff that happened with some Aston Martin fans,
Yeah.
and Aston Martin invited them into the paddock, and I thought that was
Yes.
absolutely amazing. So I mean, just keep that in mind when you're at a race, because it's hard out there for people who aren't the standard like fan what we expect.
Exactly.
So we all appreciate you. And Richard, I can't wait to hang out with you again. We're making it
Yes.
happen.
Just one point that I'll say on what you've just said. I can only imagine how hard it would be to go into a space like that when you know that sometimes you might not be welcomed. So doing that is insane. And also, it costs nothing to be nice. Like, I just want to drum this
Yes.
into people's heads. It costs nothing to be nice. And as a reformed mean girl, I'm in my nice girl era, I've learned the hard way that it costs nothing to be nice. And kindness is the best thing in the world. And we should all be exuding it.
No, 100%. I was also a mean girl at some points in our lives. And I think we all can go through that phase, and we can't judge ourselves from our past. Like, we just have to look
Exactly.
forward and grow and get better each year, because you're not exposed to certain things. And we have preconceived judgments, especially when we're young, because of what we
Mhm.
have been exposed to or what
Yeah.
we haven't been exposed to. So, like, listen, the biggest thing I can say I can appreciate is people saying, yes, I did this. Like you said, like, I didn't know like you were a mean girl, and you're tweeting at one point. You mentioned that on the
Yeah.
podcast, and I was like shocked about
Exactly.
it. But just being like, yeah, that's who I once was, because I didn't know any better, but I learned and
Yeah.
I grow. And that's like all that we ask, is that you
Exactly.
learn and grow and do better. Because we
Yes.
all have slip ups. We all make mistakes.
It's human nature. We're all going to make mistakes. And as long as you grow from them, that's what's important.
Yeah.
This is our self-help podcast now, okay?
Yes.
We're gonna give life lessons now. All right. And look at us now. We're
you
girls,
can
girls.
you can
We're the
I
nicest girls,
know.
girls ever.
And you, like, whatever, like, who would have thought two mean girls from different generations? Wait, are you a millennial? No, you're not a millennial, are you?
I am on the cusp. I'm what they call a
Okay.
zillennial
A millennial.
because
Okay.
I'm not exactly a millennial, but I'm also not Gen Z. 1997, tough year, tough year. We don't know where we belong. That's why Charles Leclerc acts the way he does. I mean, it makes sense, right?
Now everything makes sense. It makes sense. And
Exactly.
as your elder millennial, we welcome you to Millennial land
Thank you.
because you're mature.
I'm
And we
happy to
love
be here.
that. We love it. We love
Thank
it.
you. But also,
Did
speaking
you
of
ever
girls,
eat a
girls,
pat a Tide Pod? I just want to wonder, were you part of that
no,
generation?
I thought that trend was, I was like, what is that? Why are people doing this? It made zero sense to me. And I'm literally, I'm like, ugh, I'm triggered by that
Okay,
statement because I'm
I
like,
just had to
what?
clarify that you weren't one of those.
No, I'm not one of those people. Thank God.
Okay, great. Okay, this podcast will continue now.
Yes. But I was going to say, speaking of girls, the Charlotte Tilbury partnership with F1
Yes.
Academy, how awesome is that?
Amazing. It makes so much sense. It like and the livery, love it. Chef's kiss,
Yes.
right? The
It's
lips,
it's so cute. Roden Racing, you guys are gonna
yes.
slay with that livery. And especially with Lola Lovenforce driving that. I mean, hot
Yes.
girl, hot car,
Hot girl.
hot livery, stunning. Can't wait.
I am so surprised it took this long for a large
Beauty
like
brand,
makeup brand, beauty brand, something in the feminine space to do this because it makes
yeah,
so much sense both
right?
ways, right? Like to get women to watch the
F1
F1 Academy,
Academy.
but also like we're fangirls. Like
Exactly.
it's growing so fast within females that it makes sense. Why would this is like huge? And I know it's not that expensive. It's probably the cheapest per capita like advertising.
Exactly. And you know what? Charlotte Tilbury, I just want to say thank you and shout out to you because you
Yes.
saved my makeup in Abu Dhabi. I was
Ah,
sweating, but did my makeup budge? No. So you know what? Shout out to you. And I thank you for your work and for your service because that setting spray is my life and I love it. And I'm so glad that you've chosen this, like F1 Academy, to be the first sport that you invest in because it makes sense. And you know what they say? Hot girls love Formula One and hot girls use Charlotte Tilbury. So it makes sense.
yes, exactly. And what's funny is I've actually never used their products, but this is a
Wow.
perfect example that now the next time that I go to buy something, I'm going to go to their display
Really nice.
first and check it out because why wouldn't I support them? Like you just
Exactly.
gained a customer. And
Exactly.
it also, sorry, if you can hear the dog barking, he's like very upset.
When
He
you're
apparently took a bath and now he thinks he's the hot girl in the house. Sorry about that.
We love that.
Romeo, and his name is Romeo. Maybe he's just trying to
Mhm.
like, you know.
Strange romance.
Um yes. But this also reminds me of back when everybody was getting pissed off that there were um beauty influencers going to, especially Miami. I'm in Miami, so let's discuss this because there
Yes.
were tons of them and like beauty brands doing that. It's like you did that, but you didn't sponsor a team. You
Yeah.
wouldn't put your branding. Like
Yeah.
you saw the value but didn't see the value the people in the sport, which is kind of disheartening for me, and I hope
Right.
that this will change the landscape. I would love to
Exactly.
see a beauty brand on an actual Formula One
On an
car.
F1 car. Yeah. Imagine, oh, that would
Mm-hmm.
piss a lot of people off. But I want to see it. I want to see
Ferrari,
it.
Lewis, let's make this happen because
Yes.
I
Let's
feel
make it
like,
happen in 2025, baby.
oh my gosh, could you imagine? And just
Yes.
like red lips on the car somewhere.
Yes, I need it. And now you've said it. Now I don't have it and I want it. Now
Like
I'm upset.
I saw the lips on that livery today and I was like, this is beautiful. Like
Yeah.
it's feminine, it's girl boss. It's also
Exactly.
super badass where guys can appreciate that, be like, oh, that's the type of girl that I actually want to date, right? When I'm
Yeah.
thinking like when men think about like the type of women they want that strong, well, let's just say most men want a strong woman, and that's what that livery says to me, like strong badass girl boss
And it's not
whatever.
tacky.
Like
It's very easy for
no.
something like that to be tacky, but it looks classy, it looks chic, and I love it. I'm all about it. And I mean, it makes sense because Charlotte Tilbury's packaging is always aesthetically pleasing, so I'm not surprised that the livery looks so wonderful.
And see, I need to go and look at all this. I'm going to go to Sephora tomorrow just to look
Yeah,
through and look because I was a Smashbox girl for like that's kind of like my go-to
that's a
because back
legacy.
in my pageant days, It was Smashbox. Like always wear Smashbox. She'll look
Yeah.
amazing. And I just never strayed away. Maybe some
Yeah.
like Target brand, but like Elf. I think Elf, maybe that's what I
Elf
have.
is
But
not
like
as bad as people think. Elf can like they can produce some good stuff.
I started taking their products with me when I would go on like nonprofit trips and like traveling around the world. Because I was like,
Yeah.
if it gets lost, it's like a few bucks and I don't have to
Yeah.
worry about it. And then I was like, oh no, this is good. This is
Yeah.
really good. So
I absolutely
check
agree.
that out. Elf, I think you should sponsor a brand next.
I mean, I'm
Your
all
makeup
for
looks,
it.
speaking of
So
makeup, I've been telling you this for like an hour now. Like your makeup looks so good today. I
thank
don't know.
you.
You're glowing. You're glowing.
I feel so shy right now. Stop it.
No. And then the picture that you post on your story where you're just like, and I was like, okay,
My
someone's
Jane Tara
serving.
Banks, she would
Friday
be
night
proud
was
of me.
very fun for someone.
I went to karaoke, so if my voice sounds croaky, that's why. I would like to
Oh,
think yes, but my friends might not.
what is your go-to karaoke song? No,
I love
I
any
can't
Adele.
even.
I love any Adele.
Oh my God.
Yes.
That's like Whitney Houston, like really good
Oh,
voice. So you
I
have
love
to
a
be
good power
decent.
ballad. I love a good power ballad. Maybe I'll sing for you one day, but today's not.
Yeah. That's on the list. That's on the list the first time. Is there karaoke bars there? A lot of them?
Yeah, we
Okay,
love that.
cool.
We love a good
Oh,
time. Yeah.
if we
Also,
ever
I
end
want
up
to
in
say,
LA,
yeah,
go ahead.
no, yes, we definitely should go to karaoke in LA. But I was going to say about the beauty influencers and that upsetting a lot of people. I think people miss the point of them being there because Formula One teams or Formula One as a brand would like to expand their fan base, right?
Yes.
As a Formula One content creator, my fan base is already part, or like my followers are already part of the F1 fan base. We're not
Yep.
going to bring in more people that way. So the whole point of those beauty influencers being there was Formula One recognizing that young women are definitely getting more into the sport
Yep.
as we've seen the trending data change. And so
I mean, look
having
at
those
us. Hello.
exactly. And so having beauty influencers there meant that they were expanding to even more young women and bringing in more sales because, Alex Earl, people worship her. Like, she was one of the people there, people were like, girls these days will follow what she says like a Bible. So obviously she's going to be there. They want to expand, and maybe I have to miss out. And that's okay. I mean, it makes me sad. Somebody please invite me to a race. But, I see what they're doing. And I think that I know and I understand why people were upset for us as content creators. But I also understand the point of beauty influencers being there.
Right. And I think Alex Earl, I think I actually know very little about her. She doesn't come up. I never knew about her until I think maybe sometime late last year. And that sounds crazy to a lot of people, but I think algorithms, because I am older and she is what I found out like in her early 20s, like
She's like
her,
21 or something.
right. So like most people, content that's that young actually doesn't show up on my feed because it's
Mhm.
just not aligned with like my age. Like it makes sense, but 100%, like it doesn't matter what she's endorsing or her or anybody else. Like they are bringing more people into the sport. And if we know anything about Liberty Media, that's what they want. And
Exactly.
I would say, yes, they need to do better now that there are more women like us who are in the sport, who are making podcasts, who have huge followings, to reach out to us to partner. There's plenty of beautiful women that I see that could partner with them, and they could actually bring a community together a little bit more, but they're just testing right now. They're trying to figure it out. Like
Exactly.
this is such an explosion that they never thought that they would have the opportunity to even step foot in. Like look at us. Did we think we would be able to make a podcast and have
Never.
people listen to it? No, because motorsport isn't for women.
Exactly.
I mean, there's even a
But we're
woman
making it for women.
there's even a woman commentator that says that. Like, let's
Exactly.
be honest, it's
She
even
grinds
hard
my
to
gears.
change the brain of people that are in the sport
Yeah.
who are women. So I think we just have to give them a little grace, and hopefully that shifts, right? We hope that they
Yes.
start inviting and crossing that bridge with us as influencers, who do wear makeup. Look at this beautiful face she's slaying
Look
today.
at this young woman
Yeah.
who loved to wear makeup.
Thank you.
She was
Thank
a
you. I'm a
beauty
young
queen,
woman.
pageant queen. Hello. It makes sense.
Washed
And I
up, but
think
it's cool.
movements forward, like Charlotte Tilbury coming into the sport, shows
Yes.
exactly how
Yes.
pathways are changing. And I love to see it.
And I also feel like jewelry brands are missing out.
Big
Like
time.
huge. Like, because jewelry brands aren't necessarily women, but it is woman forward, right? So there are
Yeah,
so many opportunities that you can get men like Charles Leclerc wearing jewelry. We know that he reps a jewelry brand, but there are so many opportunities. Like every
exactly.
guy on that grid would wear some jewelry that could also cross promote with the F1 Academy and the women, and also like F2, F3, all of it. So I hope that we see a little bit more of that. And you know, they have money. Like, come on.
Yeah,
Like the LV brands,
exactly.
like, what are you doing? Why don't we have like a fashion brand, like a large,
Exactly.
like Lewis Hamilton, hello. Why isn't LV on the car?
Literally.
Like, why aren't those partnerships happening? I think it's going to happen. I'm talking a lot about this. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm overpowering you,
No.
but I feel like
She
I
was a
feel like
fashion student, everybody, so she knows her stuff.
yeah, I do have a fashion. I'm surprised. Like that conglomerate of brands is so large.
LVMH.
I'm
Yeah.
surprised that they haven't partnered. And I could totally see something like Ferrari came out with their style line or whatever. And I feel like
Yeah.
that's like moving into Lewis's direction. But I think
Yes.
that we're going to move away from the manly brands like cigarettes and beer and energy drinks and all these manly
Cryptocurrency.
things. See, yeah, which I will say I have been a victim, a very large victim to yeah,
The
Mercedes.
crypto
Your
lifestyle.
yeah. But I think we're going to be moving further away from that and coming towards brands like fashion brands that everybody is into fashion now. I'm surprised we won't see like Cartier at some point, you know, like they have tons of money and it is a luxurious sport and now they have the opportunity to like sponsor
Exactly.
um and I mean they're beautiful models like come on.
I was just going to say, firstly, imagine Lewis Hamilton in the Ferrari fashion brand. I can't wait because you know that video of Charles and Carlos when they're modeling
Yes.
the new outfits. If
Yes.
I get that footage of Lewis Hamilton doing that, it's over for me. Goodbye. Good night. I've collapsed. I'm gone. You're speaking to my ghost. I'm already anticipating it. Can't wait. Really, really can't wait.
It just makes sense that we're moving towards that direction because if you're bringing both men and women together and like we're crossing the borders of being like super masculine and super feminine, like we're allowed to like cross that bridge to get like
Exactly.
mingle. It makes sense that these brands will start coming in and I'm really looking forward to because I think we're going to get some great fashion. We're going to get like things that we didn't even comprehend in our brain,
Yeah.
like are we going to get like Hermes bracelets with like F1 car design on it, like
Oh my God.
these things.
Hermes, take note. That's a
I
great
just,
idea.
I mean, why aren't you partnering with who? What's your color? McLaren. Like it makes sense. Like those
Reese's
things.
collaboration with
Yes,
McLaren, insanely gorgeous.
yes,
Every bit, like I loved every part of that collection. And
yeah.
yes, the jackets are insanely priced, but there are
I didn't
affordable
see the
items in the
prices, but
collection. It was like 2,100 Australian dollars for a jacket. Yeah.
I
I
mean, we'll take
can't
one for
girl math
free.
that. I mean, yeah, exactly. I can't girl math it, but I'll take it for free. But also, I was gonna say, oh, I actually forgot what I was gonna say.
But there's
Something
so
else.
many there's so many like high-end brands that could benefit from this, right? Because everybody
Absolutely.
thinks of F1 to be expensive. So anything within the brand is going to be expensive. Like,
Formula One is about the luxury lifestyle. Formula One is
mm-hmm.
about fashion. Every single race week, when I do my media day ratings of their outfits, there's always a man in the comments saying, why does it matter what the drivers are wearing? Like, why does it, oh my God, fangirls, you're ruining the sport. Shush. Formula One is about luxury. Formula One is about fashion. They go hand in hand. It's always been that way. It's been part of Formula One's legacy for years. If you don't understand that, that's not my fault. Get with the times. It's
100%.
what it's all
100%.
about. Like, men
Like,
just love to be angry at women for enjoying stuff.
exactly. And they hate women commandeering anything that they feel like is theirs. They can't share the
Exactly.
stage. They can't, it's really insane. I had like a weird guy message me today on one of my posts. So it's definitely very like fresh, but it just makes sense. Anything that's luxury, and as we know, everything that's luxury is becoming more available. We see it all the time. It's not in like Vogue or something that you have
Yeah,
dreams of getting. People will not pay their rent to buy luxuries at this point. I don't feel like it was
exactly.
like that a long time ago. It was just something that celebrities had. So it
Yes.
makes sense for these partnerships to happen. And I see so many like the Hermes, and I have lots of bracelets, and I used to have a Hermes bracelet until like I never took it off and it all fell
Yeah,
apart. But like having like a design of like a little McLaren car like
that
logo
would be
mixed
so cute.
in. Could you imagine they do like
Yeah.
the Apple Watch and they have the strap? Could you imagine like
Yes.
a McLaren partnership like that with the orange? Like those type
Literally,
of
people should
things
hire
need to
us to do their
happen.
branding.
I know,
And
right?
also
Like,
Chanel, that their Formula One t-shirts,
mm-hmm.
insane. People ate those up. The girls were
Yeah.
eating those up. So, luxury fashion brands take note because Bernard Arnault, like his sons were hanging out with like Charles Leclerc the other day, you know?
Yep.
So like they all know each other. Make it happen.
It makes sense, and they have plenty of money in it. It
Exactly.
just to me is like a miss. And when now you're bringing women in, and to have those brands represented, especially in the F1 Academy, and
Yeah,
then have their logos on the Formula One cars, it to me is like a branding genius moment of like
exactly.
so much opportunity. Um, so yeah, hopefully we see that. That's for free now, but you can hire us or sponsor our podcast by giving us
Exactly.
free gifts, or you can put your logo up in the corners.
Exactly. We're starting out, we'll take
uh,
anything.
I mean, yes, and we'll give you free tips on what
Exactly.
you should do. So I feel like it's a
That's what
good
we're
deal.
doing.
But
Speaking
what's
of
not a
creeping
good
in,
deal? Are we both thinking of the same thing?
yes,
Uh,
I think we are.
this is such
But
a hard
this
topic.
is a
It's not a hard
very,
topic, but
it's a
it's
very
hard. Yeah.
serious topic, and I think it needs to be approached with a sense of um like care, you know, because I feel
Yeah.
like I've seen a lot of videos, TikToks making light of the situation, and I
Yeah.
just think that if you're approaching with humor, I just can't. I don't see anything funny about the situation at all. So
Yeah.
I'll preface what we're going to talk about with that.
Yeah, and if you haven't guessed it yet, we're going to talk about the Christian Horner situation, because I feel like as much as people like to say we can't judge until we hear everything, I think that it needs to be discussed no matter if we don't hear, sorry, there's a car driving. If we don't hear anything ever again about it, we still need to talk about it, because something clearly,
Yeah,
whether factual in the way that we're hearing about it in the news or that it's different, we have to talk about it. Like, as someone who has been a victim of sexual violence and harassment,
hmm
and not partially, like the reason why I left the military is because that happened to me. It is rampant everywhere, and we
yeah,
can't think that it's not happening in a sport that we love. And I'm not
exactly.
saying that this
It does
could never
happen.
happen, is being naive.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like hard
And
for
I
me to
think
like think about that. Yeah.
exactly that's a really sensitive topic, and I'm so sorry that you had to go through
Yeah.
that. And it's in. I think people don't understand just how much women have to go through to fight to be in spaces. And then when you finally get into a space that you've worked tirelessly for, and then
Yes.
having things like that happen, it's heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking to see others go through it. It's so heartbreaking when it happens to you. And I think people are forgetting that, yes, it's all alleged right now, but at the other end of this, there's a victim, and your jokes, they're going to hear it, and they don't find this situation funny at all. And
And not even,
I think allegedly, if you didn't do something, You're not going to pay somebody £650,000.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like, you don't do that. Yeah, you might want to be like, oh, he's trying to save his name or he's trying to do this. But if you have nothing to hide, so I feel like you would be like, okay, if there's pictures, because that's what they're saying, if there
Allegedly,
are
yeah.
no pictures, then why would you need to pay?
Yeah,
Like, I don't know. For me, like, that was the thing. Like, people can say, oh, he said, she said, but if there's like concrete evidence, like pictures, and that's what we're hearing, then obviously I don't feel like this would be like a long, drawn out
exactly.
thing if it was Christian against someone who said something. I
Mm,
think it would be, and I hate to say this because it's so bad to say, but I feel like if it was someone, if it was a female without any actual hard evidence, I think that we wouldn't be hearing about it. It's
exactly.
just in my life experience, that's how it has been treated. And I don't know. Either way, I feel like it's going to be hard for him to
Mm.
just,
It's crazy to me because you spend 19 years with a team, right? You spend 19
mhm.
years of your life working for a team, taking them to the top, and then you jeopardize it by allegedly doing something so stupid. Like, where is your brain?
But
You've
I think
worked
that's the
so hard for
thing.
this. And it so often gets covered up in sports like these. And that's and something that people need to know. Like, yes, this is all alleged, but it does happen and it does get covered up because that's just
But
what
that's,
happens to
and
us women.
I think that's the actual problem is that when you are so good at what you do, you've been there for so long, the ego grows. It doesn't matter
You
in
think you're
any
invincible.
space.
Yeah.
Right. You think about when you're a kid and you get away with so many things as a kid with your parents and you just keep pushing, pushing, pushing. Eventually
Yeah.
your parents find out. And it's just part of how some people's brains work. What I'm the
Exactly.
exact opposite. I'm like, oh, I have to be even stricter on myself. I have to like,
Yeah.
because I become an example. But it's, there was I can't think of his name because my brain is like tripping out right now, but there's a male content creator here in the US and Formula One content creator. And I think his name is Josh. And he had made a video about it. And in his comments, there were lots of men saying, why didn't she do this? Why didn't she do that? And then he made another video addressing those comments. And something that he said is that you don't know the experience that that woman has had in her life. You, as he mentioned, like as example, 40 something year old man, if your boss who is extremely powerful did something that offended you in any way, what would you do?
Exactly.
Would you go directly to the police? Would you sit back and think? Would you get counseled by friends? And it's so true that we tend to jump to conclusion to be like, why didn't she do this? Why didn't you do that? Why didn't you do this? That's with, like, it's your boss and he's famous and he is building a legacy team, like the best, one of the best drivers of all time and all this stuff. Like, what do you do? Like, even if
Exactly.
it's not as bad as what that is, and it's just like bullying of like something, it's like you have to sit back and like think
Yeah.
through that. So I was very impressed by him saying, like, calling those guys out on his
Yeah.
own page because
I
he
need to
doesn't
go and
have
look at
to,
that,
right?
like, because I'm going to follow this
Y-
guy now because that's, I
yeah.
love that. And it's always the victim blaming, and people don't realize how hard it is to speak up about something like that, especially when your boss is so famous and so powerful. So it's terrifying to go and tell
Yeah.
somebody something like that. I manage a team, and sometimes I can be a scary lady. And, I can imagine how if I'm upset or angry that my staff would feel scared to come and talk to me in that moment or like scared to tell somebody else. Because when somebody is in a position of power, speaking out is terrifying. Not that I'm mean to my staff, I
Absolutely.
love them. It's different stuff.
Yeah, but even, I mean, everybody has bad days, right? So even if you don't mean to be mean, you could say something that like would like, throw them off or whatever.
Exactly.
But I just, I just feel like I feel very sorry for his wife, his children, because they are victims as well. And I think we forget about that.
Yeah.
And whoever the woman is that this happened to, like at the end of the day, like she'll probably have to like find a different job no matter what. And that's disheartening too, because as someone who, just going by my experience, like when you are in an organization that is extremely tight, and we know every F1 team is extremely tight, and he is like the head of it, like how do you step back into that space, even though if it is proven to be true and everything, and feel comfortable?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lose-lose for her. So it's, again, it's alleged, but like to go to this far, it's just hard to imagine that someone would sacrifice all these things and
For
not,
what?
because
For a lie?
yeah, like everybody knows who she is, like within that space, I
Team.
can
Yeah.
imagine. Um, and I think anyone that wants to bully anyone speaking about it in like a thoughtful, bringing attention to it way, uh, you need to look at what you're saying, because your friends and family see what you write online, and you need to
Exactly.
think about your niece, your nephew, your daughter, maybe your wife, and think, what will they ever tell you?
And it's
What if
so
something happens to them?
so annoying that we have to tell people, but if that was your sister, if that was your mom, how would you feel? And then they start feeling remorse or empathy or sympathy,
Yeah,
but because they're not related to you, you don't care. What? Like
right, right.
human beings, like, oh, it's just an insane mess to me.
Yeah. And
And I don't know how much of this is true, but I actually saw something that said that they were going to give him like an honorable sort of like uh, retirement or
send
whatever, and
off,
say that,
yeah.
yeah, and say that, he's leaving the team due to illness at the end of the year. Who was going to believe that? Like, what? He's fit, fine, and healthy. Like, he's clearly doesn't have a health issue as far as we know.
It's just so frustrating, that like for someone who has dealt with this, it's so frustrating, because a lot of times you're just like, no, like this happened, like people. And I'll go back to the military, because that's something that like I experienced. Like I
Mm-hmm.
know people who have done horrible things to people, and they still get like the send off, the honorable send off, and they still get their military benefits and stuff. And I can't imagine, like, yes, Christian, you did amazing job. I think that
Mm-hmm.
two things
Exactly.
can be right. Two things can be true at the same time. He was an incredible leader that led this team, that led Max, that forged through some bad years to become one
Mm-hmm.
of the best mini dynasties of Formula One, if we're going on like what's probably going to happen this year. And at the same time, he did something that was possibly super horrible, that we need to acknowledge that he did, and take actions
Exactly.
accordingly. There's nothing wrong with saying those two things in the same sentence. And I think that's one thing that I think people think about, and like
Exactly.
it's black or white, and it's like, no, two things can be true at the same time. He could have been a great boss to every single person there, except for this
I
one
think it's
incident.
also
But this
really
one
important
incident
for people to
needs to be
realize that
taken
you
care
can
of.
hold the people that you love accountable for their actions and their wrongdoings. You can still love them, but you can be like, that
Yeah.
was wrong. You can acknowledge that.
Yep.
It's okay. And it doesn't mean you love them and you might love them
Yeah.
less. But if you want to still hold a flag, hold a candle for them,
Yeah.
that's your choice. But you need to acknowledge their wrongdoings.
We talk about like being nice is free and stuff, or to another level, like, but also like if you do
Exactly.
something, like take responsibility. Don't act like it didn't
Hush
happen
money.
and try to give someone money. Like when I was like, it could have, anything could have happened, and it could be 100% wrong, 100% false. And then
Something
when I
must have
saw that come
happened.
out, I was like, okay, I just feel like, yeah. But I guess we will see. I think I think the longer this drags out is the worse off. No matter what happens in the end, it's just worse.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I'm sure he's fighting for his life behind closed doors. I think also sometimes you just have to be like, I spent 20 years here. I messed up, or I did mess up, or whatever happened. It's time to move on. I don't know. It's just,
yeah. Someone got mad at me
silly
the other
season
day for
is
referring to it as
full
silly
on.
season and talking about this topic. And I was like, okay, sorry. It, it is obviously
Yeah, some things are
serious.
silly, and this
It's all in the
is
season,
not
people.
silly. It's very serious, but it's like, yeah, it's just like I'm overwhelmed. But I definitely think at the end of the day, it needs to be finished by
Yeah.
the start of the season, because it's just going to make
And
the
people won't stop
season
talking about it.
terrible for
Yeah.
everyone. It has to be. It's already uncomfortable. Like I've chatted with people. Yeah, I've already chatted with some people, and they've already told me their opinions and stuff that they know. At that point, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, guys, we need to
And you know who they're going to ask
do
about it
something
first? Because this
before the season
always
starts.
happens. They're going to ask Lewis about it. Like, they won't ask anybody else. Like, Max and Checo have already given their statements, and they've said that they don't want to talk about it and they just want to drive the car. But when the season starts, if this is not over and not clarified, as soon as literally they're going to ask Lewis about it, because that's every media person's favorite hobby. Asking Lewis
Yeah.
about other people's problems where it does not concern him, but you don't ask any other drivers. Make it make sense. Like, you just want to get a sound bite of him trash talking
I
somebody
know.
else.
I know. Absolutely. Absolutely. I also feel like they think that they can probe him more because he's someone who stands up for people and like has stood up for diversity
Yeah.
and human rights across the board. So they feel like, well, this is a human rights thing. This is something that's controversial. He should say something, right? But yeah, it's not his problem. It's not his business.
What are
Honestly,
they
I don't
supposed to
think you should be
say?
asking Max. I don't think you should be asking anyone. I think the only person that you need to ask for is yeah, I think if you're going to ask
Exactly.
someone,
This
you
is his
have to ask
problem.
Christian, and that's the
Exactly.
only person that you need to ask. Maybe ask the FIA president
I mean, Mohammed bin
and see
Salman has had
how
his
they
fair share of
feel about like
scandals
this
also. So,
scandal, whatever. Right. So, but I don't think like that's the thing. Why are you asking Max?
and you
Max,
know
why are
what
you
they're going to
asking
say.
anyone else?
They're
They should
media
not be
trained.
involved in this.
What do you
And I will
expect them
stand
to
firm.
say?
I do.
Something bad about their boss? Like, it's all alleged,
Exactly.
number one.
And it's
And number
just
two, they're not going to trash talk their boss that has worked for a team for 19 years.
right.
That goes against all their PR.
But also on the flip side, what if that
Exactly.
person on the other end is
Yeah.
someone that's extremely close to them? They have no idea who this person is. What if that is a
Exactly.
friend of the family? Like, you don't know who this person is. And maybe a person asking does know this person's name, but you don't know how it's connected, right? So you could be asking someone's sister about the conversation, about the
It's such a
situation, and
delicate
not even have a clue if you're just
conversation.
asking people within the
And
team
needs to be
or within,
approached
it's
with
just,
sensitivity.
you can't do that.
Exactly.
Like, ask Christian and that's it. And
That's
yeah,
okay.
and we'll probably get hate for like half the things we said on this. I'm not laughing at the situation. I'm laughing because there's always
Whatever.
a man in the
I don't
comments
care.
trying to say something.
Yeah.
On a lighter note, because I don't want to end on that note. Lewis is going to
Yes.
Ferrari next year, and we're going to
Take
have
back
a
to that
club
always when we want to brighten
1644.
our moods. Hell yes. I cannot wait. And he's going to wear those cute little Ferrari outfits so well. I cannot wait to see.
And Lewis looks at me. Oh my God. I have been looking at photos of him in red because I feel
So
like they're
good.
popping up more. And this man looks so good in
Also,
red.
I want to
He looks
say
so good.
shout out to everybody who's making
It's
the
gonna be
Hamilton
like
musical
so good.
fan edits of Lewis Hamilton and his move to Ferrari, because I've been thoroughly appreciating them. They slay so hard. I don't know if you see
Yes.
it. I don't know if you get edits on your feed,
Yes.
but people tag me in them, and I love it. Keep tagging me,
get
people,
a lot.
because
You'll
I
have to
eat it
start
up.
sending them
I
to
love that
me.
stuff. Yeah, tag Casey as well.
Please tag
I
me
don't normally
because
get them on my
I feel like our
FYP, but I
algorithms aren't
appreciate
exactly
the
the same.
girlies who are like, she needs to see this because I did need to
Oh,
see
they,
that.
yeah.
And on that note, send me, yeah,
I get a lot of
huh?
I get a lot of Red Bull
But I'm not
memes.
Red Bull girly. Where is this coming from?
I know, but people,
Uh,
I think it mostly comes from Instagram, honestly. I have like a lot of Max fans that follow me on there because I'm pretty like even keel. I'm not like going crazy off the Richter sometimes on TikTok. So I
don't
don't
let
do
them
that
find your
on
Insta. Don't let them
Instagram.
find
So
your TikTok.
I think
God.
that's why.
Oh, we're
I think
safe.
they're
You're
older
safe.
men mostly, so I
Yes.
don't think they know how to use TikTok. But yes, please tag me as well. Tag her, tag me, because I want to see this too,
Yeah.
and then we can talk about them instead of me being like, "Oh, okay,
And
yeah,
on
I
that
think I know
note,
what you're talking about."
we shall say goodbye. But I know this must be a really heavy episode. Our
Yes,
DMs are open all the time because, you know, our motto is it costs nothing to be nice. And, you
yes,
know, we love you guys and you're supporting us. So why can't we support you? If you ever need to speak to
exactly,
someone, I'm right here. And so is Casey.
exactly. And I'm right here. And
Oh,
considering we're
wait.
on opposite sides of the
Exactly.
earth, one
So,
of us
yeah,
are
we
always
love you
awake.
guys and we're here for you.
So we are here for you 24/7. Um, yeah, and always like look at your friends and you know, if you see like something, just reach out to them because a lot of times people going through these moments stay quiet because they're scared to bother you with traumatic things. So we love you. We're so happy. This is like more than I could have ever imagined. They say after most podcasts stop after two
Yes. Look at
episodes,
us
and I think we're on
go.
episode
Yeah,
5.
clearly we like each other. So,
So
yes.
we're killing it over here. Exactly. Oh my God. So before we end,
The
because
pit
I have
stop.
to talk about this, because I need to know what you thought about that promo
God, that was
video
hilarious.
of
But I love,
Woodstock.
love, love, love that Ferrari owned it. They owned it and they were like, when admin gets too excited and they post the wrong video. I love that they owned it and then they were like, sorry, mechanics. Oopsie. But that's what you got to do when you do something like that. Take accountability for it, show up. And I love that. That's good marketing.
I was going to say
Exactly.
that's the perfect marketing because it got everybody talking about them more. If they would have posted it, I
Exactly.
would have never talked about that video. Now everybody is talking about it
Love.
all over the world. I see it in multiple different languages.
We
So,
love to see it.
again,
But
incredible
yes,
marketing.
exactly. Adios, amigos.
Until next time, we um we hope that you guys enjoy the beginning of the season. Also,
Exactly.
hit us
Don't
up
forget
for
to
some
tag us in
fantasy.
your
Don't
video.
forget your bingo cards. And let us know what you want us to talk about
Exactly.
because we have usually an hour to ramble. So let us know.
Yes.
And we love you again.
Woo!
Thanks for joining us on episode
And you have a
5.